morning, world. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, everyone. How you all doing? Yes, welcome to another episode of Up You with Ezine. As always, I'm your host. My name is Ezine Kufrekanem, and today we're tackling a topic that truly shapes every aspect of our lives. Mm, Building healthy, fulfilling relationships. Yes. Everything rises and falls on relationships, whether personal or professional. Great relationships don't just happen. Oh, so and so has a great relationship. It didn't fall from the skies. Building great, fulfilling relationships require great effort, intentionality, and the right mindset. Mhm. So, joining me today is a woman who has dedicated her life to helping individuals and couples evolve, thrive, and experience true fulfillment in their relationships. I'm just going to bring her up so that you can be looking at her while I introduce her. She is a trainer, speaker, integrative life, relationship, and marriage coach, triple barrel, integrative life, relationship, and marriage coach. And of course, a human resource professional. She's also the lead coach at Evolve to Thrive Limited and the vice president of the Life Coaches Association of Nigeria, fondly known as the Nurturer. Please, everyone, world over, join me to welcome Tolu Afonja to the show this morning. Good morning, Tolu. How are you?
Good morning, Ezine. I'm doing very well, thank you. And you?
I'm well. I'm even
That's
better
good.
looking at your pretty face. You are all so gorgeous.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Wow. Wow. It's great to have you here. I
I'm
swam seven
excited to be here.
seas and seven mountains. I swam seven seas and I climbed seven mountains just to bring you on this show today. And I'm happy I succeeded.
Fantastic. I'm not sure it was that hard, but then again, I'm also excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so let's start with the basics, yeah?
Mhm.
Um, When we talk about healthy, fulfilling relationships, what exactly does it mean to you? And what should it be? What should it mean to our viewers?
When we talk about healthy, fulfilling relationships, those are
Mhm.
relationships that empower you, that have values, that you're able to be yourself in terms of being authentically yourself in such relationships where you are transparent with one another, where you build one another. And that relationship does not mean that everything is all well and good, but you accept one another, the good, the bad, the ugly, based on some
Mm.
level of understanding, level of awareness of self, and awareness of the other person. So by that, you're able to harmonize that relationship in such a way that you're not leeching on each other, but you are, empowering one another. You see yourself thriving and all. So, it's not a relationship that gives you heart attack or heart palpitations in any way, but a relationship where you are excited and happy to be in such a relationship. So that's what I understand to be, healthy, fulfilling relationships.
Interesting. You see, it's little wonder you're known as a nurturer because in just this simple question I asked you, you delivered a masterclass. And I understand that any relationship that gives me palpitation, I should check it.
Check it. Yes.
Any relationship where I'm not comfortable, I should check it.
Hmm.
Any relationship that doesn't allow me to be naked and unashamed, I should check it. You
Fantastic.
know, it's easy for me to now pick out and say, okay, checklist. And we are just starting. Oh my
Hmm.
God. Welcome, everyone. Welcome as you come to the stream. Please like, share, bring in your friends so that we can have a robust conversation because trust me, you can't go anywhere without building meaningful, fulfilling relationships, whether personally or professionally. A wrong word from a wrong quarter can throw your career into the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
A wrong word or advice from someone to your spouse can mess up your marriage. So we all need to know how to build these relationships and build them strong. And honestly, the nurturer is not someone you just find like that every day. So she's volunteered to give us 1 hour coaching. Basically, that's what this is. So come in here and get fed. Share, share, share. If you know you have a relationship with another woman or another man, right now you should invite them into this room. They should come into this conversation because you want them to also grow, thrive, and bloom. Okay? Thank you. Now, Tolu, you're widely known as a nurturer. I like that word because you see, when you nurture something, like the people that have green fingers, when they nurture their plants, their gardens, the grass looks very green, and those of us on the other side will be looking in and envying them. And so you have decided, and you are widely known as someone who nurtures people. How did you come about this name? And how does it shape the way you coach individuals and couples, especially?
So interestingly, um, it was a word that I ran away from a lot of, most times. I did not accept it, but I found out that even, I mean, it started from my work relationships actually. I was working in different places and I just found out that I go into this new work, workplace, workspace, and everybody just tends to start calling me Mama T. So I resisted it because we were on first name basis. But this young somebody like me, and you're calling me Mama T. Am I so old and all? But then I got a lot of feedback about the way I related with people. And in my experience in HR in particular, I got to understand the iceberg model where what we see is really just performance and it's just about 5% at the peak of it. And underneath it is a lot of things that are driving people to behave and act the way they do, and which
Mhm,
comes out in eventual outcomes. So I got interested in the drivers, that's the 95%, the things that drive people. And
mhm,
it just came natural to me in terms of the way I relate with people, have conversations, the emotional support, interest in them, and effective communication. So how I relate with people. And then I did one of the personality tests and it just tagged me as the nurturer. So I said, wow, God, you have already created me like this. Why am I running away from it? And that's how I came about the name the nurturer.
brilliant, brilliant, very cute story right there. One day I will share about the name I'm running away from as well. Oh, very
Yeah.
cute story. I know those personality test thingies. I took one of
Mhm.
them early in my life when I was just starting out my career. And he profiled me and he said to me, "You have no business being an employee."
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I was like, I just got the job.
It's a cue to check. It's not, I really don't take them as labels, but for me,
Mhm,
because it was already who I am and I was, avoiding it, I said, well,
mhm.
I accepted it and started walking in that calling. And then of course there was the spiritual connection to it as well. So yeah.
I know, frankly, it suits you because right now, as you're speaking, your voice is very soothing. I am actually very relaxed. I don't feel like I'm on a show. I feel like you're sitting beside me and we're having a conversation. So
Wow.
that's an aura that you carry. So
Thank
well
you.
done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, Many people struggle with setting boundaries, Tolu.
Hmm. Hmm.
You see, even StreamYard puts a demarcation between you and I to show
Hmm.
that we are not in the same space. But many people struggle with setting boundaries, whether
Hmm.
in friendship, whether in marriages, or even in professional spaces. You know, what's your advice for establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries?
When we talk about boundaries, right? And I wouldn't even just put this as an advice. It's really because as coaches, we're not to advise, but of course, there are just some things that are there that we should all be aware of. And when it
Mhm.
comes to setting boundaries, now it's not just setting boundaries, but I want to qualify it as clear boundaries, right?
Thank you.
A lot of it has to do with even self reflection, self awareness, knowing who you are, what you want, why you exist, what are the things that you value. So what are your values? What are your goals? What are the things that you look forward to being, to achieving, or to your being? Who would you like to become? Right? So it comes with all of those questions. If you know who you are, then there is a focus on my working towards where I want to be, my becoming. And then that helps you because it helps you to be focused. When you are focused, you will create boundaries to help you stay focused, right? Because all manner of things will come into your space, but you would not decide what is important for me. You'll be able to prioritize, and in so doing, clear communication is very important. So you've got to be assertive, in communicating that these are the things that matter to me. These are the things I am interested in. You're not just communicating verbally, you're also communicating in nonverbal cues so that your communication is effective, right? And another thing is being consistent. So people cannot say today you are the nurturer. Tomorrow you are the comedian. Next, day after, yes, we wear different hats, right? But there's something that is consistent that when people reach out to you, they know exactly who you are. They know where their boundaries are, right? And of course, with that comes mutual respect. So the fact that I know myself and I know you, the fact that I have my goals, the fact that I've set boundaries, I'm not just putting you down anyhow, right? I have mutual respect for your own views as well. I have mutual respect for your space as well. I have mutual respect for the things that you are interested in. It doesn't have to go my way, but then again, we just understand ourselves, and there's that mutual respect. But also with clear boundaries also comes some flexibility, right? Being adaptable to change in the moment. So, for example, if we're here now having this conversation, and my daughter is on half term, right? She's somewhere and has left me alone to be able to have this conversation. She knows that there are boundaries, that she can't come in here because I am in
Mm.
the studio. But if perchance anything happens that, in quotes, may seem like an emergency, she's going to rush in here without even, and with that, I won't just sit down here and say, I may have to excuse myself, right, to be able to attend to her because it's an emergency situation. So, in my coaching, when people reach out to me, especially when I do not have the space or the capacity to take it on immediately, some of the things are I ask, is it urgent? And if it's not urgent, then we
Mm.
go according to normal scheduling. But if it is at if it's emergency, what I will qualify as an emergency, then I drop what I'm doing, and I weigh my options, and I do what I need to do. For example, I've had a client call me back to back in the middle of the night, and I was wondering what's going on with this client. Usually my phone just goes on DND, but interestingly, I woke up at that time to, use the restroom, and I saw my phone beeping, and then I saw it was my client. So I said, what's going on with this person? So immediate, and it's not a normal thing because they know that
Mhm.
I'm here.
Mhm.
So, and that's already respecting my boundaries. But, having to say it at that time, I knew something was wrong. So I called, and of course, it was an emergency at the time. So, because you are consistent and you have communicated it, people will not just enter your space anyhow like that, and they would respect that. And where you think that it is difficult for you to set these clear boundaries, seek support, because sometimes the way we see things, the way we may be insecure in ourselves, and our insecurities do not allow us to set the boundaries that would empower us. So if you may not even know you're insecure, but if you find it difficult to set these clear boundaries, then seek help. So that's really some tips or some things to look out for in setting clear boundaries.
Amazing stuff. I like it. Don't just set boundaries, set clear boundaries. Be very clear with the
Mhm.
boundaries you're setting. But the only way you can be clear about the boundaries you're setting is if you even know yourself in the first place. I just like how all the people who come in here, whatever the topic is, it just goes back to self awareness. You
Oh
must
yes.
know yourself. You
Oh
must know
yes.
what you like, what you don't like, what you have capacity for, what you don't have capacity for. You must have your own definitions. I love when you said if it falls into what I define as an emergency. Because honestly, what some other person might call an emergency may not be an emergency for you.
Mhm.
So I like that. It just simply means go back into yourself, find yourself, which is our catchphrase for this show. Finding
Mhm.
self, then
Mm.
finding purpose. Find yourself and define your boundaries. What I find, Tolu, is that most of us women, when we get married, we are giddy, giddy, giddy in love. And then we now think that because two have become one, we shouldn't set boundaries. And then some of us, we, they take advantage of, our spouses take advantage of the fact that we have not set any boundaries and they walk all over us. And then one day we wake up and we start screaming some catchwords, gaslighting, abusing, and all of that. But you didn't set these boundaries in the first place. So I really love how you broke it down for all to know that it is our job to put the
Exactly.
parameters around us and then watch who is going to go, across it and say, no, don't do that.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ijoma Ochebu, is nice to see you. Welcome on the stream. Adebaya Janet, welcome on the stream. Helen Odeleye, it's so beautiful to see you this morning. Welcome, welcome everyone. And please enjoy the conversation. Please keep commenting and ask your questions so that Tolu can actually give us the juice. I need us to drink it all from her today. Yeah, thank you. Tolu, when you were talking, I just kept thinking, hmm, hmm, women that do not have emotional intelligence. Hmm, hmm. Every small thing we're crying, every small thing we're the victim, every small thing. How are we going? What does emotional intelligence have to do in developing strong relationships? And how can we develop emotional intelligence? Talk to us as if we're in kindergarten, yeah? Because I need.
So emotional intelligence, of course, it comes from being intelligent about your emotions, right? Yes, we use it as a buzzword, emotional intelligence and all of that. There are different kinds of intelligences, as the case may
Mm,
be,
you
right?
know.
So it's actually about being intelligent about your emotions. But to be intelligent about your emotions, it comes with knowing your emotions, knowing what is going
Mm,
on with you in the moment, being aware of it. You can talk about emotional intelligence without looking at self-awareness. So sometimes women will say, "Oh, I'm feeling somehow. I'm just feeling, I don't know what I'm feeling somehow." What is that somehow? Are you able
somehow.
to even
Mm,
give it? Are you able to even
somebody
give
please
it
write that in the stream.
and
What is that somehow?
are you able to give it a name and qualify it? Are you able to know what triggered it in the first place? Because emotions are data. Emotions carry data. What is data? Data is knowledge. It is something that you can learn from, that you can use for something. So it's either the data gives you something that you need to do something about, or it's giving you something that, yes, you have to do something about it, either to reflect or to do something better about what that data is giving you. So that's really what emotional intelligence is. It's the capacity to recognize, understand, manage, and effectively utilize our emotions, in ourselves and in others. right? So in relationships, whether personal or professional relationships, it's a vital role because we're relational beings. You started this conversation by saying that it's the bedrock of life, right? Every relation, we are relational beings, so it's relationships at the bedrock. We're not created to be isolated in
True.
any way. So emotional intelligence plays a very, very pivotal role in fostering strong connections, in by enhancing communication, empathy, and especially conflict resolution.
Mm,
When there's a hijack somewhere, it's your emotional intelligence that will tell you how to behave, what outcomes you actually want to get out of it. Because when the hijack comes and it's you yield to that hijack, then eventually you go into a state of regretting, and somebody is already hurt, becomes bitter, becomes resentful, and then your emotions start taking roots in your body and affects your mind and every other thing. So it's actually a very, very strong connector in building powerful, meaningful, and fulfilling relationships.
thank you. Let me tell you something right now. But first, Mojisola Alabishambala, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show. Now, when I made your post last night, lots of people came back and said, "Oh, you hit a jackpot with this one. She's going to deliver." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." But you see the way I'm bobbing my head like one agama lizard that just fell from the sky. I'm like, "Wow, you know, you just said it." The hijack. If you're not emotionally aware, your emotions will run all over the place until someone hijacks it or something hijacks it, an event, a person, something. Mm, thank you. We will work hard to understand our emotions. We will work hard to name them,
Mhm.
and walk through them and understand them and ask ourselves what triggers it and why we feel them, so that we can become intelligent about the things that we feel, because that will really help us in building relationships. We can't keep crying. I mean, yes, we're the weaker sex, but we can't keep crying. Sometimes that's why we have phrases like, be a woman, but think like a man. I've never liked that thing. I want to be a woman, understand myself, think like a woman, and act like a woman.
Mhm.
So thank you for listening to me and saying it as if we're in kindergarten, really. Oh my God. Okay, Tolu, I'm drilling down. You know,
Mhm.
we know that a lot of relationships struggle, from mindset limitations. Um, it's more is what happens really is more like monkey see, monkey do. So this is
Mhm.
what you know about relationships, what you saw about your parents' relationships. And so that's what you're going to bring in and try to do. And then what you're going to do further is to ensure that, the things you didn't like about your parents' relationship, that you won't want them to happen in your own relationships. Yeah. But you see, that mindset is already limiting, as it were,
Mhm.
because you're not your parents, even though there's some DNA similarities, and you haven't married your father or your mother, as the case might be. So, what are some of the biggest limiting beliefs you've seen, and how can people overcome them? Because if we can overcome our limiting beliefs about marriage, the ones we carried and entered the marriages that we are in, we might
Mm.
just be able to have better relationships or better outcomes than
Mm.
what we are mirroring.
Mm. So some of the limitations in terms of limiting beliefs that I have encountered in the course of my work really is I'll start with um, the fact that people think that the relationship, you're there to complete me.
Mm,
Okay, that you're there to complete me. And so, but yet they are not ready for that complete, for you
sure.
to complete, right? So they think that when I get into this relationship, all my other needs, my desires, everything, you put it on one person to be able to meet all your needs. And so, even when that person leaves or the relationship is no longer working, you keep referring to the fact that I'm alone. I don't have anybody. I don't do this. I don't do that. So most times, a limitation in the mindset is seeking somebody that will complete you, and you're not trying to complete yourself. You need to be whole when you're coming into a relationship. At least when we say whole, we cannot all be whole like that. Now everybody get grace for head, right?
Some
But
skin
then
scale
again,
somewhere.
but then again, the thing is, are we aware? And have we acknowledged that these are my strengths, my weaknesses, and whoever is coming, whoever I'm connected to, we understand our strengths and weaknesses, and I yield to allowing you to support me in my areas where I need help. You see, another limitation is denial that you
Hmm.
even had these mindset limitations in the first place. There's nothing wrong with me. That my family was wonderful, and everything. When you're coming back, when there's a reference to your background, family relationships, how you were nurtured, or your experiences in the past, people say, no, it was good, it was wonderful. My father was this and all. But most times it's because people have tried to block out the areas that may have influenced the way they behave as at today. But when we now drill down, as long as they are open and vulnerable to get the kind of help they want to get, then the light bulb moment starts to show up. So a lot of people are in denial. They're in denial that there's anything wrong in the first place. I don't have any limitation. There's nothing wrong with my mindset. It is that person that has the problem. So you go and tell the person. you know the other is, for those that are not in denial, there's the fear of insecurity, in terms of fear of abandonment. So my father left me, my mother left me at a very young age. Leaving may mean that there was a separation, or there was loss in terms of
Yeah.
death, right? And then they started, maybe the next person, maybe they stayed with an auntie. Sometimes a lot of people try to paint that they were with one wicked relative, but it may be that they were actually with a good person who took care of them. But that good person maybe had to japa and could not take on that capacity of carrying you along to japa. But
Mm-hmm.
while you were together, it was a beautiful
A
time
good
together.
experience.
And so it was also for that person, the person is already creating a sense of, separation all the time. And the person will start building a mindset of being abandoned. So when they get into a relationship, the fear of abandonment comes in. And so they are insecure in the relationship, and they will do almost anything and everything to ensure that this person does not leave me. And so they will suck up. They don't have goals. They can't set boundaries. They're not assertive. There's low self esteem, and all of that come into the relationship. Sometimes there's also not being worthy of love, because somebody has been telling them that you were a mistake, right? We did not want to have you. You would observe that your older brother, you are 10 years apart, because we did not plan for you. Things like that. And so just hearing that will make you feel unworthy of love. And so you get into a relationship, you don't know that that is what is affecting you, but it results in self-sabotaging that relationship because of what you are projecting. um Idealizing, the thinking you have a perfect partner, you're going to get a perfect human being. It's not right. So you probably idolized your parents. Your father was the best thing that could happen to you, right? And then you say you're looking for someone that is exactly like your dad or your mother, right? You get into a relationship and the guy is telling the lady you should go and learn how to cook soup from the mother, because it's only the mother's soup that is sweet, but no other person's soup from anywhere can compare. And so you keep hammering it into that person that my mother is the perfect person, and this person, I'm sorry, you can't be compared to her. So if you want to know anything, go and learn under her, go and live with her, things like that. And then the fear of vulnerability. So because you're insecure, you're not open, you're not transparent, you're not that vulnerable. So you take in a lot, you keep a lot, and and all of that just eats up within you. So even you're not able to share your needs, right? You're not able to be assertive in any way. And because of that, you're being emotionally, you're avoiding being emotionally open to your partner or whoever it is. And this on its own hinders deep connections because your partner is looking forward to, oh, we can share everything and anything. But you're holding back, and your partner is wondering, I can't continue like this if you keep holding back. That holding back can also be projected in the fact that you don't spend enough time together. It will just be projected in the dynamics of the relationship.
Hmm.
So some limiting beliefs, mindset that we project, but we don't know that we may be projecting we are until we become aware that there's something wrong and then you're intentional to do something about it.
You know, as I was listening to you, I was saying, and it's possible for one person to have this entire gamut of limiting beliefs without realizing it. You could be, one person could be in denial, could have fear of insecurity, could have, could also not be vulnerable, might have experienced loss or separation and is afraid of such. And so the person becomes a total, complete pick me. I just need you to be with me. And so because I have all these insecurities which they're not even acknowledging, they now become like a doormat. Anything for love. Kai, honestly, I'm sober right now because I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking. And they might not even know that it's limiting belief going on with them. There's a very interesting question here. It says, it's from Helen. He says, many of us have been at the hijack point, but unable for various reasons, unable to pack up and go. What can be done to rebuild the relationship again?
So when you come to hijacks, you have to uh, and if it becomes difficult to pack up and go, you have to do a lot of evaluations. What is most important for you? And it will come with self-awareness. Hijack also comes with awareness of self. What are the things you're willing to compromise on? What are the things that are no? So if it's already affecting your health, if it's affecting your sense of being, if it is affecting your being able sense of security in that relationship, right? Where some people do not live is also because of these limiting beliefs, right? But then again, some things that you can do, one, get help in terms of identifying the patterns that cause these hijacks. What are the triggers, right? If you're not, and that comes with self awareness. So even if you engage a coach or a therapist, they're going to ask you questions backwards to be able to help you come up with these patterns, right? So it comes with a self awareness, just understanding the patterns. And by understanding the patterns and the triggers, you now know exactly what to address. Sometimes it comes with being assertive, building your assertiveness in terms of your confidence in the relationship. Because when this hijack comes in now, hijack can be in both ways, right? It's not always anger issues. It's not always a point of getting so angry and bitter and resentful. It can also show up in just withdrawing and not just being interested in anything or anybody or whatever. So it can go in any way across the spectrum. But being aware in the first place that there's a hijack, sometimes just self reflection. Oh, I was hijacked in this, right? What can I do differently? Okay. So you're doing that, you're questioning yourself. What can you do differently? Challenge the narrative, the negative narratives, So if it was that I thought this way and this was the reason why I behaved this way, why did you think that way? How would you rather want to think? Right? And then begin to program yourself to think in a more positive way, right? Practice self-compassion. So when you know there's a hijacker, forgive yourself, acknowledge it, and then forgive yourself. Heal, that yes, I acknowledge that I've done something really bad. I shouted at you, I screamed at you, or I withdrew from you, because you have identified that it was because I did this. You know, avoid the blame game, because most times when there's a hijack, we turn it around that it is the person, it's because you did this, it's because you said this, it is because this happened. Take ownership and take responsibility of your actions. And as you do that, now begin to, introspect, forgive yourself, heal if depending on how intense it was, cultivate a kind and understanding relationship with yourself. And of course, acknowledge, talk to your partner and say, see, I understand I overdid it this time and all. I apologize. It was because I did this. I know it would probably have had this kind of effect on you. I'm sorry. Right. And that would actually, come to the fact that you are working on yourself. All right. And of course, gradually expose yourself to vulnerability. This, like what I just shared, that you're now vulnerable to share what's going on with you, why it happened, and, what you will do the next time. So it helps you. Another thing is being mindful, because the hijack sometimes it comes with symptoms before there's an outburst, right? So be mindful of those symptoms. That's why self-awareness is like the
The
it's like
bedrock.
gold. Yes, it's the bedrock of everything, right? So when sometimes when a hijack is coming, for some people they're already, maybe their heart is beating faster, or there's a palpitation, or their head is already going in different, what their thoughts are really going, and then you just have to, breathe. Just pause and breathe, right? Count to 10 to 20 to 100, 1,000, or whatever, just to try to calm down, so that you do not give power to that hijack to manifest, right? So the bedrock of it, it's really just self-awareness. And then, like I said, emotions are data. So now you are now being intelligent about the data that you have gathered from, what is happening with you, and then you now know how to change the eventual outcomes. Okay.
Okay, follow-up questions. So I'm just going to follow up with questions on the stream and hold on my own. So I'm going to read two at the same time so that I can tackle them immediately. So Helen still says, thanks for the response. How about when all the answers and efforts are not entirely yours? What would be the contributions from spouse and children especially? That's one. And then somebody else says, Adeba or Janet says, why will a partner decide to hold back?
Okay, so let's address Helen's question first, which is that the issues are not entirely your fault, right? So it means the hijack is not from your end, but maybe it's your partner that, had the hijack, or your children, went through, and then, their own outburst, you identified it. And you see, that's where awareness of others comes in. So emotional intelligence is not just about awareness of self, but awareness of others. Now, if you know that your partner or your children already have these tendencies, because you are aware of it, that they have these issues or these tendencies, then how will you react? Right? Because it's like, I know that my dog barks at me. And so you are already expecting that if I don't give this dog something, it's going to bark at me. Right? And so you know that it's part of him to, I mean, part of that animal to bark. So when the dog is barking, you will not say, this dog, and you're already in a relationship. You sort of known the dog to bark. So when the dog is barking, it will not surprise you that the dog is barking, right? So that's the same thing, being aware of your children and their tendencies, being aware of your husband, because that awareness helps you to understand what is going on with him or her at whatever time. Now, because you know that, these tendencies or the hijack, it helps you to, the key word here is empathy, right?
Hmm.
Because you understand that there's a hijack coming on, which is out of your control. It's not about you. Now, something would have triggered that hijack. And if you act from a place of empathy, like you just allow this person to rant, and maybe that's all the person needs. Not for you to come and add butter and pepper to it, right? Allow the person to rant, right? And but while you are still creating your boundaries. So even if the person says is ranting, projecting it at you, you're not letting it to affect you because you know you're not the problem. You know that it's something that probably has happened and everything. Even if the person does not come back to say, "Oh, I acknowledge, I'm sorry for the way I acted and all of that," you know that you are not the problem. And so if you already if the dynamics in the relationship is such that you already have a relationship that you speak, there's effective communication and all, when all the hijack has come down, there's a time for everything. Then you can come back and have a conversation. The person may not even know some of the things that he or she said in terms of words, or the weight of the words that were said, right? And then when you come out, you can also share the impact that it had on you. And if your relationship already has good dynamics, that person will acknowledge and say, "I'm sorry, next time, hold me accountable and let's do this." But if that person is in denial and is constant in constant denial, and you can't take it anymore, then get help. Get help. Get help. And that the help will, support therapy, as the case may be, will be able to help you on that journey, right? So if it's not you, especially your children, just get help. If you can't deal, there may be something that they're reacting to, maybe a pattern or something that you don't know about. But once you identify the patterns, you got to do something about it, right? So the other question from Janet, which is, why will your partner withdraw
Decide to
from
hold back.
decide to hold back? Now, there are a lot of reasons why your partner may decide to hold back. um, but one of the things I say is, you will hear me say, the dynamics. If the dynamics in the relationship, that is the relationship itself, the core of the relationship was such that it was already good, everybody open and vulnerable, and you enjoyed yourselves, you could share anything, you were already naked and not ashamed, then something happens and you notice that your partner is holding back, right? The reasons could be anything. It could be that your partner has gotten has got involved with something he or she is not proud about, and thinks that is going to devastate you, right? Doesn't know how to share it with you, or is not confident enough to even talk to you about it. Or your partner may so for some partners, it could be job loss. How do I go back home and say I've lost my job? Right? How could I go back home and say this? It could be anything. But then again, another thing could be that your partner may start holding back when if your partner is emotionally entangled with somebody else. So that's another reason why they can hold back. And that means that the dynamic between yourself and your partner is not as wonderful as you thought you are, because your partner is now being emotionally entangled with another person. And so once emotions are involved with somebody else, as much as your partner may still want to come and show up like everything is okay, that entanglement with the other person is there. It could also be that you're not able to communicate your needs and your desires, right? Personality. So sometimes one has a very strong personality, a domineering personality, and the other person's personality is not as strong as the other
Fine.
person. Yes. And so, because you have elevated your partner to have a strong personality, um, most times it affects your confidence and assertiveness level to effectively share your ideas, your impulse, your emotions, even say I'm feeling somehow. I've observed this, and that is when you will hold back. When you are insecure in that relationship, some of the limiting beliefs we said in the past, I mean, before now, when you are insecure in the relationship, you will not want to share a lot because you think that if I do this, this person will think this and leave me alone. So it still comes back to these mindset limitations or your emotions being involved with somebody else. Yeah, those are some of the reasons. Yeah.
Thank you, Tolu. You must agree these are very brilliant questions that
Yes,
have come
definitely.
from the
Yeah.
stream for you. One thing I've observed, or I observed from the questions, there's still one more, but let's go on. We'll get back to it. One thing I've observed from the questions is it just shows that um, conflicts are inevitable in relationships.
Hmm.
It's not possible for two or three people to be in some kind of relationship and they will not have conflicts. So I'm going to ask you to tell us, some effective strategies.
Mm.
Effective strategies. Simio, can you tell us some effective strategies for
you know,
resolving conflicts broadly like that in
yes,
a
the
way that
first thing,
strengthens bond
yeah.
rather than weakens it? Just give us some broad ones and everybody can now go and personalize to their situations.
The first thing is to accept that relationships are normal. There's nothing abnormal about, I'm sorry, conflicts, sorry, that
Mhm,
conflicts are normal. There's
mhm.
nothing abnormal about conflicts. As long as two
Sure.
human beings are together, siblings, parents and children, friends and well wisher, everybody, we all get into this state of having conflicts with one
Mhm,
another, right?
mhm,
But the first thing I would say about conflicts is the fact to prioritize the relationship over winning. Because when we get into a conflict, you want to be the winner. You want to be that my views are ahead. You want to, buga it that, yes, I said it, it is me. No, you have to come, you have to agree on my own way and all of that. Yeah. So prioritize the relationship over winning. What is important for you in the relationship? When I do before marriage, premarital coaching and all of that, especially when they are engaged and planning their wedding, right? That
mhm,
is when a lot of conflict comes in. The bride says she wants this, the groom says she wants this. And then I ask, what exactly do you want? What is the outcome of this? Right? And they say, oh, that we just want to be happy. We want to enjoy ourselves. We want to be we want to fulfill our desires as individuals and as a couple. And then I say, okay, the how you get there is important, but not as important about what you actually both desire. So when you now go and say, the relationship is important to us, right? This is what we want to enjoy in the relationship. Now backtrack it. What are the things that we will do to enjoy this relationship we want to enjoy? Then you are not able to, you know, put your things on the table. Oh yeah, I hear you, you hear me, right? Okay, what are we going to? What's our midpoint? Bring up your strong points, right? And you are now
mhm.
open to actually now listen to the other person, because in conflict you're not listening. You're just putting out your own, but you're not actively listening to the other person. So another strategy is active listening. After you have prioritized the relationship over I must win, it must be my view, that we must practice active listening by fully engaging with your partner's words, acknowledging their feelings and their viewpoints. Reflect on what you have heard to ensure understanding, and of course show empathy in there. So practice active listening. Use I statements. So I statements in terms of, I understand this, express your feelings, this is how it makes me feel and all of that. But I feel concerned with one, two, three things that you have stated, than to put the blame game that you always do this. Really, is it always? Those buzzwords, always, you usually, is it usually because
You
it happens
never
once?
think about me.
You never think about me. Is that really true? Never. So, it's important that we are able to get into that state to not play the blame game, and also use the I statement, like personalize it and say, this is the way I feel. This is the concerns I have. These are the things that I think we need to do, while you are putting out your viewpoints, and then your partner is actively listening, to reflect on the things that you have said, and that is going on both ways. And while you're doing that, stay calm, cool, calm, and collected, because when you are both hot, you can't achieve anything. But when you are calmer, or you know that there's a state of calm where this active listening can actually happen, then we can now go on to have the empowering conversations. um, Seek a common ground. What's important for you, what's important for me. Okay, if we achieve this, and a win-win situation, seek a common ground. And where there's no common ground, you know when you talk about relationships, the values of the relationship, I always, when we talk about winning, about prioritizing the relationship, it's about the values you enjoy in the relationship. So if you go back to the values, these are the things that I enjoy in the relationship. This is why we are together. This is why we gel, right? And now this thing has come into the system. Look at the values in the relationship, and that will help you to say, okay, I value this, you value this, we know we both value this, right? How can we now, work this thing out? And of course, set boundaries and use nonviolent communication. So, setting boundaries, you already know that there's probably some no go areas. So, for example, you don't talk about my family, my siblings, or whatever. Don't project anything on anything outside of me, because I will not take it. You know that I love my family, I grow, and everything, the things that are dear to me. So don't bring your hijack or conflicts, whatever that's happened. Just avoid that area, and let it be about the situation on ground. Don't go and call the whole world and be saying that's how you call your friend. And no, no, avoid projecting it on other things that are not concerned with the situation on ground. But yet, don't avoid, because people avoid conflict. So view conflict as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity for deeper connections. Because a lot of people avoid conflict, they throw things under the carpet, and like I usually
And
say,
then it gets so big and becomes an elephant in the room.
it pierces through the carpets and,
Mm-hmm.
and erupts as a volcano in the
Mm-hmm.
same room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
approach disagreements as chances to deepen your understanding of yourselves, because my mantra is evolve to thrive. We keep evolving every day. So it may even be a situation or an issue that we've probably never experienced in our lives. But these are our viewpoints and all of that. Take it as a learning opportunity. And learning opportunity also means that you're open to learning, you're open to growth, right? And you're open to um, managing conflicts with mutual respect. Yeah.
Again, brilliant submissions there. As we were talking, another thought was running in my head. I was like, oh, how I wish I can be a fly on the wall in the place or in the room where you have the couple strategy room. I wish I could be a fly there so I could just hear all of this, because the little that I'm getting today is very, very deep. One of the profound things that I've heard, concerning marriage and conflict resolution is that if you always realize that whatever the issue is at that time, at per time, is not about two of you per se, but it's two of you confronting the issue so that two of you can become better. And
Mhm.
that's what your number one point was. Don't want to win that argument and then lose the relationship. You
Mhm.
know, always remember that two of you are a team, and then look at it together critically as a team. I kind of thought that this conversation will go the way it's going, that women we will skew it towards marriage and everything. But there are relationships outside of marriage, and I know that you help teams a lot, Tolu. I'm taking it away from marriage so that we don't stay on marriage. Yeah, I know that you help teams to optimize performance
Mhm.
as well. There are relationships that occur in teams, work teams, and all of that, church teams, whatever teams. Yeah. So, what lessons from professional relationships can be applied to personal relationship and vice versa? Maybe something we learned on the team that we can bring home and also apply in our marriage and vice versa.
Interestingly, when I work with teams, right?
Mm.
It's still the individual in the team that is concerned, right? So it's, yes, we're talking about the human beings, and that's why I focus on the being. Now,
Mhm.
environments may differ in terms of this is work and this is maybe a social gathering, or this is home, or this is this, but it's still the
Mhm.
individual as you are, and everything you carry, you show up
Mhm.
wherever you are as you are. So it is
Mhm.
that same being. So even when we look at teams and work relationships, we go into this these mindset limitations. Some of them too are also there even in teams, right? um so what are the personal, there's no, that they are practically the same thing. When we look at effective communication, I know in the workspace and there's a lot of trainings on effective communication, you know work how to work together as a team and all of that, things that you as a human being should embrace, working in a team that helps you in a team, because even relationships as a family, whether you it's between your father and your mother, or father daughter or father son relationship, those are different kinds of teams, because you all want to live together in harmony, right? So if we use the word relationships, we are all relating with one another in one way or the other, and these strategies or these lessons apply both ways. So I'm going to emphasize on effective communication. Effective communication is all about your verbal and non-verbal cues
Verbal
being in
communication.
alignment, with that which you're communicating. We say that the response to your communication is is exactly what you have communicated. So when you say this person does not understand me, you have projected or said or communicated in a way that is not in alignment with what it was that you wanted to share with that person. The meaning that you give to your conversation or to that communication is what you get from it. So effective communication, communicating in clear and concise ways, is very, very essential. So at work, you probably type emails a lot, straight to the point. You are well articulated. Then when you get back home, what happens? You're doing M. You're not even able to come out to say the things that you need to say. Maybe, yes, the dynamics at work and at home are totally different. So the environments are different. But that which you are learning in being assertive and articulate, take it back to the family
Cross
space.
apply it. Yes.
Yes, just apply it, or in any other relationship with friends, and as the case may be. Now, at work, you set boundaries, right? I mean, if you're setting boundaries, you're someone that is already great at setting boundaries. That, oh, okay, at so and so time, I have my to-do list. These are the things I need to do. These are the things I need to deliver. Apply it in all your personal relationships as well. I already mentioned, we already looked at that already. Build trust. You can't be in a workplace and you distrust everybody. You're working on eggshells, because if you're
Mhm.
doing that, it will be already qualified as a toxic workspace. So
Mhm.
trust one another, and you're building trust. In the same way, in the same vein, your personal relationships, build trust. Be trustworthy. Be trustworthy, right? In the workspace, there's a lot of empathy and understanding. You're working as a team. So when one person is, not pulling his or her weight, being a high flyer, for example, and you suddenly notice there's a drop in the person's performance, check it, what's going on. You empathize with the person, you relate with the person, and find out what's going on with the person. So back, take it to your personal relationships. When you know that someone has been the dynamics of the relationship has changed, when you identify it, what has gone on, instead of just saying, this person has started a go, no, he has withdrawn, be interested and come with empathy to say what's going on with you, right? And with that, with empathy comes understanding. In teams, in the workplace, there's a commitment. You are committed to working together as a team to achieve the goals and the objectives of the team. And so you are reliable. They can rely on your input, and you can rely on other people's input as well. In your personal relationships, be committed in those relationships, right? If it's a relationship that you enjoy, remember we defined what a fulfilling and
Yeah. In the
relationship is
beginning.
at the beginning. So be committed in that relationship. Don't be not avoid it being one way, one-sided, right? Be committed as best as you can based on your understanding of self. And some people have identified that this is an area that I need to work and improve upon, and they're working on it. So be committed in the relationship, be reliable, that if they reach out to Tolu as my friend, or if I reach out to Ezine as my friend, I'm sure that Ezine will be able to support me in this, or will be able to give me advice in a particular way, or she will. I had, so let me give an example. Somebody reached out to me a few days ago, a friend of mine, and she said that I can call her anytime. I said, okay, I'll call you the following day. Time zones, she's not based in Nigeria. She's about 7 hours away from here. I mean, behind. And I was tired. I wanted to sleep. And then she says, in the chat, she says, I can call her anytime. I said, okay, fine. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. We'll talk in the morning at so and so time, my time. But then she says, she answers another question that I had put on the chat, and that was, how are you actually feeling? And she puts there, as in her response made me, I just said, I am calling you now,
Now.
right? And I picked the
Yeah.
phone. Now, this is not a client, this is a friend, 7 hours away. I was tired, but because I'm committed in that relationship, right? I just said, I'm calling you now. I was tired, but we spent 2 hours on that conversation. And at the end of the conversation, she said to Lucy, thank you. That anytime we talk, so sometimes I have to book time to even talk to her, because I know that when we talk, because of the dynamics of the relationship, we can't actually put a time frame to it. But because of what she was going through, I had to call her immediately. So that was commitment. And that she also acknowledged that she could rely on me, even though she did not feel that it was a good time for me, right? I could easily have said, well, I'm going to bed tomorrow, let's talk about it. And that's where flexibility comes, and she was open to share, knowing that if I called, I wasn't just going to, the other dynamics in the relationship came out. So, as you are a reliable team member at work within your team, also be a reliable friend, reliable partner, reliable sibling, and be committed in your personal relationships. I hope I
Or,
have
like I like to say it, be present in all of your relationships. Don't check
exactly.
out on your relationships and expect that they'll be building themselves by themselves for you. You know, it all takes making sacrifices, like Tolu just shared with us right now. Wow, Tolu, there is so much to discuss with you, but time is not our friend. But I'm going to squeeze in three more questions, any which way.
Okay.
Please indulge me because we've talked about everything. We haven't even really drilled down on yourself and the things you do. You're the vice president of the life coaches. Mm,
Mhm.
I've been pushing coaches in this my life that have now finally found their VP. I've landed gold. So, as vice president of the Life Coaches Association of Nigeria, you interact with many professionals in the field. Can you tell us, please, what trends do you see in how people are approaching relationships today? Because honestly, the buzzwords is too much. How
Hmm,
do you see it?
hmm.
I'm personally thinking that in the nearest future, there'll be no marriages. Maybe we'll start having things like open marriages. We'll be married for 2 years and then bye. I don't
Hmm.
know. What do you see yourself?
So some of the things I have observed really is, and we said it at the bedrock, as the bedrock, self-awareness.
Mhm.
People want to know other people's stories and their lives and their matter, but they are not ready to even know themselves. And that's also a lot about what's going on in the social media spaces, what's going on online. So a lot of people carry out, you're interested in other people's lives, in what is going on with them. Or you come out yourself and share your relationship things, matters, issues online. For people that don't know themselves to come and be judgy. So they will be a voice. You want to listen to voices that do not have the capacity or the ability to give any positive input in your life as a whole, and then the relationships that are going on with you. And that comes from a level of lack of self-awareness, no boundaries, no boundaries at all. And that trend, because you are now listening and taking in a lot from voices, information overload. You are building your relationship based on what is trending in a particular group on Facebook. You now project it into your own relationship, not knowing that your relationship, especially if it's an intimate one, that human being that is your partner is not a, we are all different human beings. So it does not apply. But you just create generalizations. You just build facts. You just, things that are not factual, you generalize things and apply it and say, they say, I have seen it, I have read it somewhere. And when I particularly had a case that, a couple, um, one of them was getting input from what she was getting from a Facebook group. And that was what she was applying, that was in her marriage, the dynamics, and was shutting down and killing the marriage. And it's not a young couple, though, as in, we're talking about a couple of 15 years. And,
Yeah, I mean,
constant.
when you get on social media and all you hear is that all men are cheats, all men have side chicks,
So you
all
begin
men
to,
are.
yeah, so you begin to take in all of that and it programs you because that is where you are learning things from. I also know that even on social media, I'm on social media, but what am I using it for? What are people using it for? Right? It's to, if you have set boundaries, if you know yourself, if you know where you're going to and your desires and what you want, it will help you to channel the kind of engagement and the things that you want. Focus so that the things that matter that will empower you, you get into such zones. You know, That's one thing. The second thing is embracing embracing diversity. So when I say diversity, no judgment zones, right? A lot of things have
We
gone
listen,
on.
we don't judge.
You said
We listen, we don't judge.
you listen but don't judge. Yes, no judgment zones. I have someone that has a community like that. It's called NJZ, no judgment zone. Because with that, we come into relationships with biases, either
Mhm.
way, these limitations and all, right? But then the person you're connected with, whether it's a friend or whoever it is, they have their own, you spoke about all men are cheats, right? And that's a bias. So when you go into that relationship with that bias, right, you're not getting to know the individual. You're
For
just
who the
getting into
person
that
is.
exactly. You're getting into that relationship with an expectation that you're going to be cheated upon. And when it happens, even though the expectation is there, subconsciously, that expectation, you have plan B, plan C, plan this. So you are not entirely committed in that relationship, right? And then you are not open and transparent in that relationship because that bias is carrying a heavy weight, a burden on you. So embrace diversity. Don't judge people. Get to know individuals. Get to know people for who they are as you get to know yourself. So know yourself, know the people that you are connected with. What are the values in the relationship? When I ask people in that are in relationship these days, and I say, "What do you want?" What are the things you're looking forward in your choice relationship? Get this person out of the system. If this person was not there and you were just thinking and dreaming that, oh, my blissful choice, fulfilling, happy relationship is a relationship that these and these things are happening, what would it look like for you? And by the way, that's a cooking question. So people on the call take note of that. and then people will say what they don't want because they've not actually thought about what they want.
What they want. Hmm.
Yes. So
Very
they're saying,
valid.
I don't want a man that beats me. I don't want a woman that will say that cannot respect me. I don't want this. I don't want
What
this. And you know
do
what?
you want?
So you don't know what you want, but you know what you don't want. And like we say in our field, that what you don't want is what will come upon you.
Mm. Mm.
because you are acknowledging the
It's
things you
not my
don't
portion.
want.
It's not my portion. It's not my
It's not
portion.
my portion. People run away. They say, I don't want to be like my father. I don't want to be like this person. But when you enter the relationship, these are the things that are happening. You are indirectly walking, being the carbon copy of your father or your mother in your behavior. So if you take a step back and say, what do I really want? And you reflect on the things that are important for you. But people don't even know what they want because they don't know themselves. They want to know other people. They want to know what is happening with this, how this person is. That's how this person is. And they will make a case. They can write a dossier. They can write books on other people, but
Insatiable appetite for
they are not,
negative news about other people
they are not
has,
connected to themselves. And
you know,
their inner me becomes their enemy. That's what I
exactly.
say. Your inner me becomes your enemy because you're not connected to your inner me. You do not know who you are. You don't know what you want. You don't know what drives you. You can't create barriers, right? Um, and that makes you not be authentic when dating,
Mm,
right? You come up with a filter when dating, right? You're not intentional. You're just saying, um, it's just about the things that you like that seem to be okay. So when you ask people what they like in the relationships and all, they'll be like, oh, he does this, she does that, but not about the key things. So, for example, you say the person is kind. How has this person shown kindness, that you love kindness about this person? And most times you will see that they are hearing, the person is kind to me. How about kind to others? Because it
others.
could just be because I need to catch you now. And so I'm bringing out expressions of kindness. But have you really gathered data that this person is actually a kind
A
person?
kind person
Because
across
how you
board,
show up in one place is how you show up in other spaces.
everywhere else. Yeah.
So you're not able to be intentional and authentic in your dating because you're going into that space with filters, with biases, with I'm not going to be myself. And of course, economic factors affecting influencing relationships. If you cannot buy this for me, or if you do not, if you can, a lot of economic considerations play a crucial role in relationship these days. And these are economic factors, they are relative. They are relative depending on where we find ourselves and what we are looking forward to. So you're looking for a person that can provide heaven and earth for you. But you as an individual, can you also provide heaven and earth for the
For
person?
yourself.
So we're making
For yourself,
demands on
even.
exact for yourself. We're making and placing demands on people, but we're not able to even meet with a quarter of those demands. Another important thing, and the last thing I'm going to speak to, is the changing gender roles that we see going on these days. So when I say
Mm,
gender roles and expectations, I'm not really talking about bisexual and all of that. I'm talking about traditional gender roles being
yeah, where the woman
reexamined.
has become the breadwinner.
Exactly, being re-examined, and of course, the views on gender equity. So, the guys that are still coming up with respect, respect, but what does respect mean? Right? And the ladies that are saying love, 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 what does love mean? So these roles, I mean, the lady is doing this, the guy is doing this, mutual respect. And one thing I say, and I'm going to end with this, is irrespective of where your roles, what you have qualified your roles to be in terms of how you show up in the relationship, always treat the next person or whoever is in your space and you're relating with respect as a human being that God has
First and foremost,
created in the likeness of Him.
himself.
I cannot stop in His image. So if you say that you are created in the image of God, relate with the other person, it's someone who has also been created in the image of God. So whether we look at gender roles or whatever, this person is a human being like you. Treat that person as a human being. And these are some trends, these are some things that I have discovered in our clients with regards to how people handle, manage relationships as of today. Thank you.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's very rare to find me speechless, but I'm actually speechless because oh, that was deep teaching there. And I hope that every person who comes to listen to this and those who would, in many years from now, will get this thing. See, I felt a punch in my stomach as we were speaking, especially when you were talking about filters. Because I, for one, I just made up my mind last week that I'll start using filters on my pictures so that I can be pretty. I just discovered filters on TikTok. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
wow. I have to start putting these things on. And then, bam, you're talking filters. And I have to listen. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going there. So
Well,
these are
so
things.
let me just say this. It's really just the application and the why, what you're doing behind it, right?
Yeah. But
Because a
you
lot
see,
of people are insecure, and that is what's making them to bring up a facade, a camouflage of covering up their real self because they want to be like somebody else and not being proud of who they are. So I'll just throw that
so
in.
for me, what that word did was to let me, it suddenly became a little bit more intense than just making your pictures look prettier.
Hmm.
So it's a word I'm going to marinate on and ask myself, what filters are you operating with? And try to understand why I have erected those filters myself and try to pull them down in whatever relationships that I have. And I hope that every other woman would also do same. Okay, we're rounding up. So could you um hmm, hmm, for someone who feels stuck in a cycle of toxic relationships, what are the first three steps they should take to break free and build healthier connections?
In a toxic relationship,
Hmm.
and you have discovered that you are in a toxic relationship.
In fact, you're stuck you're married
Yeah.
in one.
Well, I don't like to, and this I try to avoid the word being stuck in a toxic relationship because God has given us the power of choice. And so being stuck is a reflection of deeply seated issues that makes you feel stuck in that relationship that is toxic. Because if it is toxic, the first thing is to separate. The first thing is to separate yourself from the environment and from the beings that are creating the environment that is making you feel toxic, right? So I would say if it is toxic and you feel stuck in it, toxicity has a very, very negative, a powerful negative effect on your being. And so the first thing is to separate yourself from that environment. The second thing is to begin to work on yourself, seek help. Now, you can seek help through different ways, right? Of course, there's coaching and therapy. You can get books, you can go on webinars, you can go on meetings, conferences, depending on what is possible for you. But you know what you are looking for in terms of getting unstuck. But if it is toxic and the effect it has had on you, seek help, therapy. It's not even coaching that will help, it's therapy. Therapy to help you get past, unstuck yourself. And as you unstuck yourself, you begin to look forward to a better future for yourself. So the first thing is to acknowledge the toxicity. Uh-huh. Then um, do something, take action. And the action is to separate, unstuck yourself. Now, that unstucking may not depending on the intensity or the severity of the toxicity. In some cases, you can begin to start working on yourself in the environment such that the toxicity is no longer getting to you.
Mhm.
But then again, in some cases, you need to separate yourself depending on the intensity of the toxicity and the effect it's having on you. Separate yourself and just go seek help. And that help is actually therapy, integrative care. And that's why I call myself an integrative coach because
I was
basically,
saying that if you finish saying this thing and you do not allude to yourself, I will just be very upset. So thank you very much. And I think everybody should get interested in ESPA conversations with TA. Can you quickly just tell us about it? Because I like the work you're doing on that platform.
hmm, okay. So I'll tell you a bit about ESPA. I mean, I call it ESPA Conversations with TA. The E is for emotional wellness, well-being. Um, the S is for self-care, self-love, self-compassion, things about self. The P is productivity increase. So as you um, take care of yourself, your productivity is increased. And A stands for accountability. We stay accountable to one another on this journey. Now, ISPA conversation was birthed from a space while trying to be, I see that even there are times that I hold back from being vulnerable in conversations with other women. And I see that there are a lot of women that just need some time to rest, to breathe, and unburden. And so it's a space to help women to breathe, to unburden while taking care of themselves, while just, getting out of the space that makes you feel that there's so much demand on you, that overwhelming and anxious state, and just relax because there's something that rest relaxation does to your body. You recreate yourself. You come out better empowered, creative, productive to be able to achieve the things you want to achieve. So in the past, we've done it as a physical, it's been a physical event where it's either we go to the spa, I mean, we have it and so women have spa, they have body massages and the likes, pedicure. We've also had a session where it was painting. We had to paint and just pour out your emotions on via painting, right? Because it's therapeutic. All of
Paint
this
and
is
seed,
therapy,
yeah. Yeah.
right? And then we've had it just playing card games, but card games asking questions in such a way, and that's where the conversation start from, right? Card games asking deep questions, people sharing and thereby empowering one another, affirming ourselves. We dance, we eat, we drink, but then it's actually to come out empowered. Now, one thing that thing does is that you go out of that space and you feel that you feel on top of the world, that you can do anything and achieve anything. But
True.
it's to create, just open up the mind that it is okay to take a break, to breathe, to rejuvenate yourself, and then come out there and be creative and productive and be yourself again. So, but most times women, we take in, taking, 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 and we don't know how to let out because we are taking everything in, right? And so we empower ourselves in those conversations, sharing experiences. That's just what ISPA is about. Mm,
I can't wait for the invitation to the next one.
definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, please leave us with your closing remarks. And also, if you can, please leave us with three practical things that we can begin to do even right now towards building meaningful and fruitful relationships for ourselves.
So I would, in closing, let me quote this from Michelle Obama, and she says, "Choose people who lift you up.
Hmm.
Choose people who lift you up." I talk so much,
People who lift you up.
um, about empowering relationships. So there are relationships and there are relationships, but be mindful to stay connected and build empowering relationships. And to be able to build an empowering relationship, it starts with knowing me. Knowing me, there can be a knowing of us. So I say, know me, know you, know us, right? So I know me, I know you, and there can be an empowerment in the understanding of us. And
Yeah.
then we can lift each other up. right? Three practical things that people can do in, in building connections and relationships. The first thing is, I would always start with this: know yourself, your values, your goals, your belief systems. Start that intentional work in knowing yourself. When they say, who are you? Identify who are you? Introduce yourself. It's not about the things you have gathered, your qualifications. It's not about your gender. It's not about your age. It's about who are you, right? And from there, because you know who you are, you know your values, you know the things that you desire for yourself, you begin to attract the kind of relationships that you desire. Okay. But if you don't know who you are, sometimes you don't know what you're projecting. And what you're projecting is what is attracting the kind of people that come into your space. And then you wonder that, there's something wrong with me. I can't do this. And then you withdraw again. So know who you are, know your values, the things that you desire, begin to work on them. And, when I say work on them, express yourself as such so that you can attract the kind of things that you desire. Okay. And the third thing is network. Network, but not network anyhow. Network mindfully. Because when you know yourself, right, and you know yourself, you know that which you want, you know where you are, you know that which you desire, then you would network mindfully to be able to put yourself in spaces that you would connect with these people. And while doing so, building your confidence to doing that. Thank you.
Can I thank you enough, Tolu? The people on the stream are already thanking you. I hope you will take time to read their comments later.
I will.
Thank you most profoundly and most sincerely because honestly, today's conversation was off the hook real. You are not called the nurturer for nothing because you have nurtured us. I feel like we ate a 7 course meal and we're grateful, we're thankful, and we know that we've just started building a relationship with you and we'll know that we will deepen it. We will be present in it. We will try to know us, as in know me, then know you, then come about knowing us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And now,
Thank
this is
you.
where before I wrap it up completely, this is where I tell you about the goal getter stories, the segment that is called the goal getter segment. So this week we're highlighting Mona. Mona sent us a message and told us a story about how she prioritized self love on Valentine's Day, February 14th, despite a recent breakup from a 3-year relationship. Mona shared that she took herself on a love date and even wrote a love letter to herself. She ended by saying that it felt good spending time with herself and getting to know herself again. Mona's story will be put up on our Instagram handle so you can go and read it. And please don't forget, if you have anything you want to share, you could share them with us via email at upwithezine1 at gmail.com and then put the hashtag upwithezine goal getter series and we may feature you in a future episode. Yeah, Mona, we are rooting for you. Self love is very key. You could even relate to all Tolu was saying today. She also did mention that you need to be aware of yourself. So it's good that you have decided not to jump into another relationship, but to first of all get to know yourself and then evaluate what went wrong, what could go right, and what you can do even better. We love you. We hope you love yourself some more, and we hope you find true love as you go ahead. Now, my challenge for everyone this week is be intentional about one relationship in your life. In all the relationships you have, whether it's at work, whether it's at play, whether it's at rest, whether it's at home, whatever, pick one and be intentional about it. Starting now, sit down with yourself and that relationship and ask yourself, what's going good? What's not going well? What can I do better? How can I communicate better? Ask yourself based on everything you've heard today from Tolu on the show, and then decide to be present and pitch in and let that relationship work. All right. And also, you could do something. You could be reaching out to someone that you haven't spoken to in a while just to say hello. That's nice. It could also be apologizing where you need to. Someone did say on the stream that humility is key. Yes. If you need to be humble and say sorry to someone, apologize to someone, please go do that. Let's begin to repair our relationships. There's this nursery rhyme that I learned: make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other is gold. So if there's someone that needs your apology this morning, go give it. Okay. And remember to talk to us about listening actively. Don't seek to explain, don't seek to talk, don't seek to be heard. Learn to listen, you know. And the best? Just simply appreciate someone just because. They didn't do anything, but you just want to say, I'm grateful you're in my life. I'm glad I know you. Thank you for being my friend. I mean, Tolu sent me a very nice message yesterday, and I was like, oh my God. She just said it was great talking with you. And I'm like, oh my God. Can you imagine? So little things, but they do go a long way. They leave very good impressions, lasting ones on people. So please make sure that you do those small acts of connection that can create big shifts in relationships. Let's build healthier, more fulfilling relationships, more connections, one intentional step at a time. We can do it. We are women. We can do it. We are connectors and we can actually do this if we set our mind to it. Tolu, again, it's been such a very rich and insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing of your wisdom with us today. And to you, our amazing listeners out there, remember, great relationships don't just happen. They require effort, intentionality, and a willingness to grow. If you found this conversation helpful, like you all say you did in the stream, please share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it now. Just share the link. Let's keep the conversation going and follow us on all our social media platforms at Up You with Azine, and so that we can stay connected and deepen our own relationship. It's been Up You with Azine until we come your way next time, same time next week. Yeah, keep showing up for yourself and your relationships that matter, and don't forget, thrive. Evolve to thrive. Yes, that's Tulu. Evolve to thrive. And then from me, it's Up You. All right. Thank you, Tolu, and bye bye.